Check, check, check. All right, man, can you hear me? Check, 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 check. I'm curious to see if there's a hum in the background because that's what I'm hearing in my microphone in the on the computer. So make sure the sound sounds good. Kyle obviously speaks a little louder. It sounds good though. I know you can hear me, but does it sound good? Do you hear a hum? Can you turn it up to what it's normally going to be? Check, check. If that's good, I'm going to leave it right there, Wilbur. Hi, Brewster. How are you? Can you hear me? I love Brewster. Trying out new audio system so you guys never lose audio again. Okay. I could turn it up in the booth up there for you to see if that kind of helps. Do you want to try that, Wilbur? Okay, let me go up there real quick and turn it up. Okay, hang on. Oh man, I'm not wearing my Fitbit, so these steps are useless. All right, check, 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 check. All right, I'm gonna turn it up right now, Wilbur, tell me. Here we go. Check, 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 check. Check, mic 1, 2, check, check. I'm afraid that we'll get hum if we start going up too high. Check. How's this? Is it getting a hum still? True. Very true. I could talk really loud like this, though. Make sure we're not peaking. All right, I'm going to talk like this. Is this good? I'm leaving it here if you say yes. All right, buddy. Good luck, Brewster. See ya. Love ya. Bye. Microphone check, Kyle. Kyle, please. Microphone check. Check, check. Microphone check for Kyle Plue. All right.
Well, good morning. My name's Kyle. I work here at RealLife, and RealLife exists to help people who are far from God or who feel far from God and help them find real life in Christ. This morning's been a little bit chaotic. Two reasons. The two most important people in my life that keep me organized have been gone. My wife has been gone all weekend, which leaves me all alone at home with the dog. Some of you welcome that. I do not. I made it clear to my wife, God forbid, if anything ever happens to her, I am marrying right away, all right? I've picked out who that will be, so if Gwen Stefani comes available, I'm her man, all right? Sorry, I just missed a whole bunch of you that are older. If Olivia Newton-John comes available, I'm her man. Or Condoleezza Rice. I have a whole list of them. Good morning. I'm glad you're here. Listen, there's a lot going on, and we got a big event next Sunday night. It's been, since we started 6 years ago, it's been our goal to have a worship night every single quarter. All right? So I figured out that's like 24 quarters. So next Sunday night will be the third time we've done it. We aspire to do it every quarter, but we're just getting in a rhythm where we can pull it off. And here's what we do. On Sunday mornings, we gear it towards people who've never been to church before, and we just want to make sure everything's good. That's why we start with Dolly Parton's song. I mean, we want it to be down in a place where everyone can understand and get what we're doing. Worship night is going to just be an hour of the band playing worship songs and people worshiping and singing along at however they're accustomed to doing that. Also is the place we do communion, and we'll do that together. We believe that that's a great thing to do, to remember everything that Jesus has done for us, and we'll do that together. That's next Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Just show up. It'll be very, very casual, and we will have a great time. We'll take about an hour and make that happen. So please plan on joining us for that. This morning, we continue. We started a series last week, and if you weren't here, no problem, because I'm going to catch you up. We started a series called Uncluttered, and basically how to create some margin, some breathing room in your life. Because if, in fact, your life is a piece of student rule line paper, and your margin is filled up, someone has written, or your schedule has written from end to end, from side to side, there starts to be a panic and a tension that's there. So we want to help you because I believe, and I think even the Bible teaches, that all the best stuff in life happens in the margin. And if you have no margin, you are missing out on the best part of life. And I know you're busy. I know there's a lot going on. But maybe you're missing out. Now, if you are under 40, you're going to push back on everything I have to say this morning. Because I look at you all youngins, the newly marrieds, the millennials, the 30-somethings, even the 40-somethings, and I say to you all the time, listen, you better slow down. If you don't take control of your life, life will take control of you. And you look back at me, some of you roll your eyes, some of you flip me off with your eyes, and just like, because it's only old people who say that. Who's with me? Old people. Gray Panthers. Unite. Yeah, exactly right. Because we old people can look back, most of us with regret, because we invested our time in so many things that we thought were going to pay off and never did. So that's where we're headed today. Please don't leave until 11:10, all right? Because I think there's something, listen, I don't say this very often, I think there's something life-changing about this morning. Because if, in fact, your time is your life, if you change the way you spend your time, you may change your life for the better as well. That's our plan this morning. I'm so glad you made it. Let's pray. God, thanks. Thanks for whatever you've given us. Thanks for the time that you've given us. Thanks for this time, in this moment, that we don't want to rush past. So we want to be here this morning and listen to what you have to say for us. I ask that you would do that in a very, very powerful way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand and sing with us. Well, if you weren't here last week, or you're in Brewster, or watching online, you missed this great event. In fact, even if you were sitting here, last week I was playing the piano for the band, and the lights go out just like it did, and we bring all the equipment out and everything. And I was hurrying to get out to the hall to fix my Britney Spears mic, and I don't know what it was, age, and I started to hurry from the piano that way, and I tripped, and I was head over here, and the incredible superhero himself, Tito Nunez, caught me. Yeah, with one arm. And he picked me up, and I go to walk again, and I tripped again. And he grabbed a hold of me much more emotionally the second time. So I'm just glad to be out here with my mic, and everybody's ready to go. Welcome to you all. If you're in Brewster, we're so glad that you're gathered there. If you're watching online, if you're watching later in the week or listening to the podcast, it's great to have you here. How many of you ever gotten fired before? Go ahead and give me a wave. Brewster, go ahead. Yeah, I haven't gotten fired very much, but I got fired once. And last week I talked about when we first moved to Manson, my wife and I, and then my only daughter. I started youth pastoring in Manson and was a prevention intervention counselor up at Manson High School, Middle School. I started coaching girls basketball. I was coaching football. So I was very busy. And I mentioned how involved I was, that I would, approaching summer, I would take the calendar and I would fill in all the girls basketball stuff. Summer league, tournaments and stuff. And then I would fill in after that, whatever's left, I'd fill in youth group stuff, activities. And then I would go to Darlene and I would say, here, you have this much left. I hope you enjoy the one weekend in the summer that I'm giving to you. It didn't work very well. So I didn't know that it wasn't working very well. It's like I said to Darlene, hey, Darlene, carry this 100-pound weight. And it's only going to be for a day or two, and I'll come back and I'll relieve you of it. Well, I said, here, carry this weight. And it said she was carrying it around for months and months and months and turned into years. So finally, you can blame whoever you want to, finally God got involved and said, Kyle, you're done here. And the Manson School Board, with the support of other community members, fired me from basketball coach. Yeah, imagine that. Knowing who I am and how lovable I am, how would you even imagine that would happen? To tell you the truth, I was crushed. I was crushed. And I was mad, and I was indignant. And it took me about 6 months to figure out, oh, man, that's the best thing that ever happened to me. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I was never going to slow down. I was never going to look at my schedule. So God, I believe, intervened and said, hey, the problem is, you guys, is after 4 or 5 years of coaching and ignoring my wife and kids, making up for that is impossible. Going back and reliving my daughter's 3 years and 4 years ages, or my newborn kid, 1 and 2 and 3 years age. You can't go back, all right? So this isn't going to be a talk about necessarily regret and how make you feel guilty, but I'm really, really signaling this big warning sign that says, stop. Just take a pause right now. And maybe we can talk about some stuff that will save you. Maybe I can do you a favor. That will save you from regret 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Now, almost 30 years ago of regret, maybe we can do a little bit to keep you from that. So this isn't a Christian thing or a non-Christian thing. Because everyone wants to use their time wisely, and they don't want to look back and regret. So for whatever mood or whatever road you traveled to get here, this is something for you. Let me catch you up on where we've been, because a lot of our lives look like this. Your closet looks like this. And some of you are like, hey, Kyle, I was here last week, and I went home and cleaned out my closet. Well, that wasn't really the point, all right? I don't really care what your closet looks like. This kind of funny. But it's not funny when that is what your life looks like. Because we talked about last week that when you are burning both ends of your finances, of your schedule, of your relationships, it's not funny at all. In fact, it is no fun. Because you are building up habits that you're going to look back with regret, that you are so busy taking your kids to event after event after event that you don't even know your kids. And you are so busy at doing and achieving and doing this that relationships, whatever you have had, deteriorated, and building new ones is impossible. So it's not funny, all right? We talked about last week that life is better lived uncluttered, with some margin, with some breathing room. I don't know that any of you would disagree with that. Some of you may say, oh, I don't want to be lazy. I'm going to keep work. I'm going to grind. I'm going to get, okay, all right. You'd rather burn out than rest out. Well, either way, you're out. You know what I'm saying? So maybe there's a better way. So we look like this, that maybe our lives could look like this. That, oh man, you look at that. It's like some of you who are anal retentive like myself and in control, and you're like, oh yeah, that's so much better. If I walked in, look them side by side, which one represents you best, the cluttered closet or the uncluttered one? And some of you are, oh man, I'm in cluttered, but I wish I was in uncluttered. You just don't have any space. So that's what we're going to talk about this morning. We started last week by saying this, that there are certain things that lend ourselves to, why would we spend 4 weeks talking about how to live a life uncluttered? And here's why, all right? Because very few of us have enough time to talk and slow down. Very few of us have time just to sit around the dinner table and casually have conversations with our family. We're not enjoying what we're doing because we're doing too much. So the definition that we're working with last week, this week, and the next couple of weeks is this. To live a life uncluttered looks like this. It's the space between our current pace and our limits. All right? So here is our current pace, whatever pace you're moving at in life. All right? Here is your maxed out limit. Here. Your margin, your breathing room, your unclutteredness is whatever is that space in between. And some of you, if you were honest, you wish your pace was over here. And you had this margin where life happens. But if you're honest, your pace in life is right here, and your limits are right here. Or some of you arrived this morning, and you are at maxed out limit. And just the fact that you came to church this morning, you think you're wasting your time. Because you have so many things to do, so much. And if it's not physical, it's in your brain, you're just going 100 miles an hour. So that's what we're talking about, is if you don't have space here, if there's not space between your pace and what you're maxed out at, and I know, some of us have more limits than others, that you're a person of high capacity, but still, I guarantee you, there's limits to your capacity. Because what happens is, we work at such a feverish pace that we trade peace that we all want for progress. Hey, look at me. I'm achieving. I'm moving forward. I'm getting better grades. I'm making more money. Yeah, but you're miserable. Or we trade peace for prosperity. That, hey, I got more stuff. But we're going to see that pretty soon you'll have everything you want and you won't enjoy anything of what you have. So here's what happens. When you live uncluttered, here's what happens. Your stress levels go up. Right? You are always hurrying from event to event to event. You always have to call ahead and say, hey, I'm going to be 15 minutes late. Or you show up and say, hey, I got to leave 15 minutes early. You have scheduled yourself too much. Or if it's not your stress levels, your focus narrows. This is all review from last week. Your focus narrows so that you're concentrating on that thing that has the most attention, your job, your energy, your kid's schedule. And your focus is here so that you miss out on this. For example, if I were to preach and stand this close to the edge with my feet hanging over, most of you could not concentrate on what I'm saying, right? Yes. Right? Because already Mama Nichols here is afraid I'm going to fall off. All right? She's like, Eric, get over there and catch him. Me too. If I'm constantly concentrating on if I'm over too far. Have I stepped? Am I going to fall? I can't concentrate on what I'm saying or what I'm trying to communicate. That's the way life is. When your life is cluttered, you're so focused on the immediate, the urgent thing that you miss out on the most important. And obviously, then your relationships start to suffer. You start hearing stuff like, Mom, man, you're always on your computer. Dad, whenever you're around, you're on the phone. We kids hate it because all you guys ever do is argue about money. Can you imagine that you're in such a pace, that in such a hurry, that you're so tense, That your kids are home, they hear the garage door opener, and they think, oh, crap, they're home. Because all the tension in the house goes up because there's no peace. There's no margin because it's so cluttered. So, believe it or not, God has something to say about this. Way back in the day, God says, hey, we're going to start a nation. And so Moses goes down and gets all the people out of Egypt, says, let my people go. They get out in the wilderness and they travel around. And God says, we got to set up some guidelines. We got to set up some rules, how we're going to live, how we're going to get the most out of this. So you know some of those as the Ten Commandments. He said they weren't, we look at them as rules, you better do this because God says. But God says, here's the best way to live. God says, hey, don't murder each other. And we'd all agree, well, that's great for a community. God says, hey, don't sleep with your neighbor's wife. Fantastic idea. I don't want anyone sleeping with my wife. Yeah, okay. They're not just rules that God says. They're the best way to live. In that first 10, and there were many, many guidelines he laid out, one of them was take a day off. Formally, it's like remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. And when I was a kid, I thought, okay, go to church on Sunday. That has nothing to do with church. It wasn't even Sunday. It was every Saturday, you got to take a day off. Thou shouldest taketh the day off. What does that say about a God who commands you to take a day off? That's good stuff. God said, when we were setting up the best way to live in community, he says, you got to relax. You got to take a day off. Because life is better lived uncluttered. But we struggle. Because we all have cluttered schedules. Already in the first 7 minutes of my talk this morning, something has boiled up inside you and you're just tense. Because you're like, yeah, I am busy. And yeah, big fatty bald guy on stage is telling me I'm busy. I already know that. I know that. You're not making me feel any better. Yeah, I want to make sure we all understand and feel the tension before I think we got a solution for it. And one of the things is we attempt to do everything and enjoy nothing. Have you ever met someone? I had a friend in college like this who, they were best friends with everybody in college, right? You go walking by, you're walking with them, you're walking somewhere, and someone says hi to them, and I say, who's that? Oh, that's my best friend. And then pretty soon you walk to, hey, who's that? That's my best friend. Or someone that's, oh, I love you. I love you. If you're best friends with everybody, and you love everybody, then are you really best of anything and really love anybody? Does that make sense at all? See, we are involved with so many things trying to get enjoyment out of that we get no enjoyment at all out of it. And I don't even care what your thing is. There's no judgment here. I want to do this. I want to accomplish this. I want to have this. I want to meet her. I want to meet him. I want to do this. I want to do that. And we get to do so many things that some people, and maybe you have to get old, at some point you get everything you ever wanted, and then you don't enjoy anything of what you have. That's a horrible moment for us old people. Anyone? Dad? All right. I knew there was one old person in the crowd. That's my dad. All right? So we live in this constant, consistent tension. It's a tension between you and your wife, you and your spouse. It's a tension between you and your kids. It's a tension between your friends who are like, man, you never hang out with us anymore. What's going on? It's a tension between the people you work with. Now, here's the solution. We're going to give it to you, and we're going to give it from a really obscure place. But we're going to give you one solution, and we're going to give you the promise that comes with that, so that you can begin from this day forward to live differently. And like we said earlier, this may change your life. Because if time is your life, if you could save time in a bottle, the first thing that you'd want to do is to what? Save every day till eternity passes away? And then just to spend them with you? Maybe, or maybe like Steve Miller, then you're like, time keeps on slipping, right? Into the what? Into the future. Thanks, old people. I have no young people time songs right now. All right? The fact is, time just keeps moving. And if life is your time, if that's what makes up your life, if time makes up your life, if minutes and hours and days makes up your life, then if you do something more with them and better with them, your life will be more and better. And that's our goal. So, we're going to look at Moses. Moses is going to give us some information on an uncluttered life. Moses is an interesting dude. Moses lived to be 120 years old. A lot of us know him because he has a movie out, right? Remember, he goes down and says to Pharaoh, let my people go. But before that, and if you grew up in Sunday school, you know that Moses was born to his Hebrew parents. He was a Jew. He was born to his Hebrew parents at a time where all the baby boy Jew boys were getting killed. So Moses' mom hid him, remember, in a raft that floated? And Pharaoh's daughter found him. So Moses had 4 lives. The first was royalty. He was raised in the palace. He was used to everything, getting everything that he wanted. And it was a great life. And he would have had money, prestige, everything. But then something horrible happened. He saw these 2 dudes fighting, an Egyptian and a Hebrew, and he intervened, and he ends up killing the Egyptian. And he runs. He runs in fear, he runs in panic, and he ran the only place that he could go that would accept him, to his in-laws. And he becomes a shepherd for his father-in-law. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going from prince of Egypt to shepherd for your father-in-law? You think, shepherd, what a nice job. No, it was sheep. 24/7. He'd take them out. He'd take them in. It wasn't good. It was bad. Thank you. He was a prince. He was a shepherd. And then he becomes the rescuer. See, here's the thing. Moses didn't know his own story. When Moses was a shepherd, the first 40 years he lived in royalty. The second 40 years he lived as a shepherd. And he didn't know there was something else to come. He thought, this is it. This is all I got. Sheep after sheep after sheep after sheep. Oh, there's my mother-in-law. Sheep after sheep after sheep after sheep. Oh, there's my mother-in-law. That was his existence for 40 years. He didn't know there was something better coming. He just woke up every morning, just went through the same old thing. Then one day, his boring shepherd life just lit up, and so did the bush next to him. And God says, Moses, get down there, and let's get my people. So Moses goes down, and he becomes the rescuer of all Jews, Hebrews. And he takes, we think, 3 to 4 something million people that had been living generation after generation as slaves, and he takes them, and he leads this mass of humanity out into the desert, and they're going to accomplish great things because God promised them there's this land. It's so great. It's flowing with milk and honey. I don't know what that means. That's like Starbucks coffee and Krispy Kreme. I mean, it is everything you'd ever want, Kyle. Get out. This is it. And the 4th phase of his life, he just lives as a wanderer. Because God says, listen, I asked you to do a couple things, and man, you blew it. So you're going to lead these people around, but you don't get to go into the land. You can see it. We'll put you up on a hill, and you can see it at a distance, but then you're done. So Moses has a unique perspective on time, don't you think? He's experienced really everything. The highs of high, the low, shame, regret, disappointment. So he sits down one day at the end of his life. He's old. And he decides to write a poem or a song. We don't have it any other place. Most of what we know from Moses in the Bible, someone is telling us about Moses. But in the book of Psalms, which is in the middle of the Bible, and it's 150 different poems or psalms. Most of them are by King David. But right close to the middle, in Psalm 90, Moses has a poem, a song that has been kept for us for all this time. And Moses sits down, and we're going to go through it just a little bit. I just want you to get the flavor of the song before we get to the big chorus of what he's trying to say. But Moses sits down, and he's an old man, and he's looking back. And he's trying to put into words, maybe into music, what life was like and what life could be. So he starts out, and he says, in the first verse, he says, Lord, you have been our dwelling place throughout all generations. Basically, he says, Lord, when we're with you, I feel like I'm home. You know what I'm saying? all the Barnes kids are home. Matt's home from the Marines. Allie's home from college. Emily's home from homecoming. They're all together in one home. I bet you as Ken and Sarah fell asleep last night, they thought, it's good to have all the chicks underneath the same roof. We're just home. You know, when you've been away on a vacation, I don't care where you go, when you come back and you see the lake, right? You're like, so glad I live here. Moses is saying, God, you've always been home to us. He keeps going. Before the mountains were born, that's kind of cool imagery. Or you brought forth the whole world. Moses was a creationist. From everlasting to everlasting, you're God. When you created everything, he's saying, we know that your existence your arrow goes that way and your arrow goes that way. There's no end or beginning to you, God. We know you're above and beyond time. Then he says, you turn people back to dust, saying, return to dust, you mortals. I've never seen it, but I think like something like Gandalf would say, right? I've never seen it. Who's seen those movies, Lord of the Rings movie? Yeah, nerd alert. Sorry, I do that. How many times? Why'd you raise your hand? You knew I was going to say that. All right. I've never seen it. I'm sure they're fantastic movies. Okay, or this could be Yoda. Mortals, dust you return, you must. I don't know. But it just sounds so powerful, and it's a little offensive. Like, man, God kills us. I'm not saying. I don't think Moses is saying that. I don't know that God numbers your days and have you die, or He just allows you to die. I don't know. But all He's saying is, God has something to do with our life and our death. And all of you believe that, I think. Because if you or someone you know got a terminal illness, would you pray? Even if you've not been a church and not a God person, would you, if even all the prayer you could get out was, help God? See, most of us, when we come to a situation that's bigger than us or that's life-threatening, most of us say, help. He keeps going. He says, because 1,000 years in your sight are like a day that has just gone by, or like a watch in the night. A watch in the night was like 3 hours. He says, life's just flying by. And it's going by, for me at 55, it's gone by so fast. Can you imagine how time flies for God? I mean, He's above and beyond time. And He's saying, things move so fast, and the older I get, the faster time flies. He keeps going, yet you sweep people away in the sleep of death, and you're like the new grass in the morning. In the morning it springs up new, by the evening it's dry and withered. And He's saying, it's just so quick. Our lives are so, it's like mist. Hey, there it is. Nope, it's gone. Then He says, our days may come to 70 years or 80 if our strength endures, yet the best of them, or most of them, are trouble and sorrow. For they quickly pass, and we fly away. Aren't you encouraged? Isn't that positive stuff? Yeah. Moses says, you're dead and dying quickly. You're a mist. You'll be done by 70 or 80. Some of you guys that are over 80 go like, yeah, Moses, I showed you. Yeah, it's like, man, it just seems so discouraging that the best of our lives are trouble. And Moses knew trouble. He knew pain. He knew shame. He knew regret. Some of you know that. You know exactly what Moses is talking about. You look back, and so much of your life has been pain, and you want to look back, and there's been some great times, but it just seems like there's so much brokenness and pain in this world. So he says all that. He goes through about 10 verses. Then he hits the big refrain, or he hits the big chorus, and he says, listen, if you haven't been listening, sit down and listen now. If it's just been playing in the background, pay attention. Because he says, God, because of all this, teach us. Teach us to number our days. And you got to teach us because it's not natural. It's not intentional. If you don't come along and help us, we're going to waste our days. This mist of a life is just going to be gone that quick, and we're going to wish it had been different. Moses says, teach us. I act as if I'm going to live forever. If you're a 17 or 18, 19-year-old dude, you think you're indestructible. That's why you do such stupid things, huh? Who jumps out of a plane? You know what I'm saying? Who hikes the top of Mount Rainier? Who coaches little kids football? You got to be crazy, all right? Those are just, that's just crazy. We think we're going to live forever, and we think our kids are going to live forever, and we think we have this job forever, and we're going to think, and what I've learned is you don't have forever. It goes so quick. And why is it that the best of times go by so quick, and the worst of times linger so long? We got to number our days. Why? We number our days. Teach us to number our days, God, because we gain a heart of wisdom. If you teach us to number our days, we'll gain a heart of wisdom. And so there's this correlation. There's this solution, and then there's a promise with it. If you want to get the most out of life, if you don't want to look back and regret, or with less regret, then you need to number your days. You need to take account of your days. And if you do, Moses says that God then will give you the wisdom of how to use your days. It all goes together. And if time is your life, then how you measure your time and how you take care of your days will be how you take care of your life. So we would say that the big idea is my time is limited, so I need to limit how I spend my time. I say all the time, usually to young couples, and usually it's in premarital counseling or young couples that we're friends with, if you don't take control of life, life will take control of you. And they nod and wink and like, that's good for you. And they just get bowled over by life. Listen, I'm not picking on you because most of you know exactly how that feels. Right? Some of your schedules are so busy. I don't know how you do it. Some of you have 3, 4, 5 kids. You're both working. I'm not telling you not to have kids. I'm not telling you not to work. I'm telling you that maybe you look at what you're doing and you say, hey, our time's limited. We don't have much time with these kids. We don't have much time on this earth. We don't have much time with each other. So let's limit where we're going to spend our time so that where we do spend our time become the most valuable and the most precious things. So when I remember my time's limited, I gain wisdom on how to spend my time. When you stop and consider that, and if you're a single person, you stop and consider it. Maybe you have a friend you can talk to about it. If you're married, parents, man, I would encourage you, talk to your kids about this. Middle schools, high school, if you dare, talk to your parents about it. This is a life changer because we gain wisdom. I read about this gal named Bronnie Ware. In 2009, she wrote an article entitled 5 Regrets of the Dying. Then she turned it into a book. And she was a hospice nurse, and for 12 years she spent dealing with patients and people who had days or just weeks to live. It's a blessing and a curse. As a pastor, I get to be involved with lots of people in the hospital on their deathbed. It's a sacred moment. Most times I feel like I shouldn't even be here. But then I feel like I am so blessed that they included me. So when you're there, you see a lot of things. So Bronnie said, hey, there's some things here that I keep seeing over and over. So she started interviewing people who were in hospice with days, if not weeks, to live. And she came up with these 5 things that seem to be universal. And I'm going to share them with you real quick. Number 5 is, I wish that I had let myself be happier. They get to the end of their life and they said, I didn't know happiness was a choice. I kept working trying to earn it. I kept working trying to achieve it. And I never got it. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. I'm in touch with 2 friends from high school. And high school was, 37 years ago. One is Huey, who I talk about all the time. He remains one of my best friends. And one is my sister-in-law, Diane, who's married, who is my wife's sister. So I kind of have to stay in contact with her. So that's it. That's it. I had such deep close friends in California before I moved here. You know how many I'm in contact with? 0. Yeah, you think, there's plenty of time, or, I'll just make new friends. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. Never really said how they felt. in relationships, in their jobs, with people around them. So when you do that, you kind of settle for mediocrity. I can't really be honest. I'm not going to really say what's really going on. I'll just go along. And there's this emptiness. The last two are the most powerful, I think. Number 2 is, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I've never, ever met someone in their later years, especially on their deathbed, who said, I wish I would have put more hours into my job. Not once. Never. Because here's the thing. That's an avoidable regret right now, you guys. If you're in your 20s, this is avoidable right now. Because, listen, because you can't go back. You're only 21 once, right? You're only 30 once. You're only 40, a couple times. You get to be 50 indefinitely. Whatever Oprah is what Oprah turns 60, and 60 is the new 40. All right, Oprah sets the standard, all right? I'm glad for that, because at 55 is the new 32. But you can't undo those stages of life. You can't go back and do it over. Listen, that's avoidable regret. Finally, number 1, by far, this one stood out more than any other, was this. I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life other people expected of me. They had dreams, they had passions, they had things they wanted to do and the person they wanted to be, but because of people around them, maybe there was a family, maybe it was parents, maybe it was friends, maybe it was a spouse, they never did. The thing is, end of life, hospice, just brings everything that's important to the top. And health brings freedom to do those things. Listen, if you're in good health this morning, and you have dreams, you have desires, you have things you want to do, but your schedule is pulling you so you can't do those things, stop, pause. You don't have endless amount of time. I'm not trying to be negative at all. I mean, if you're in your 20s, maybe you have till your 90s. But we don't know. If we don't take every day and minute and time captive and invest in the very things that are going to produce the most satisfaction in our life, if we don't stop and do that, it won't naturally do it for you. You got to take control of life, or life takes control of you. Listen, last week we talked about fear. And the reason we don't live the way we want, or the reason we don't take account of our time, or the reason we live such busy, cluttered lives, are because our fear of not mattering much has a potential to draw us away from what matters most. If you were to be honest, what is the thing that matters most to you? I mean, if you're going to list the things, you have to do your own list. Obviously my wife and daughters matter most to me. I kind of dig living for Jesus and telling people about him. That matters most to me. I don't want anything to get in the way of those two things. What matters most to you? I'm starting to finally appreciate at age 55 the deep friendships that I have. What matters most to you? I've already met Dan Marino, you know that, so I'm checking that off the list. I can die a happy man. You know what I've been working on? And I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, is I'm trying to live in moments instead of achievements. And I'm not good at it. I'm always hurrying from one thing to the next. You know what I'm saying? I'll get done today, I'll get done with this sermon, and we'll pack up and everything, and I'll head home. And by the time I'm on my way home, I'll be thinking about what the sermon is and how we're going to do it next week. I live from meeting to meeting to meeting. Usually I stack up my meetings on Thursdays. If you talk to me on Thursday, hey, Kyle, you have time? Nope, I'm meetinged up. I use that phrase all the time. And it's okay to be busy. But what I lack is just appreciating the moment I'm in right now. I'm really working hard at this. Has only been for 6 months. Just that I appreciate that I'm here with the Gordons right now. They're my friends. They're sitting in the front row. I appreciate that we're there. I want to appreciate that that Tammy and Peter Larson, that every Valentine's Day, Darlene and I go out with them. And even if we've never gone out with them or we never talked all year long, which we do, but I want to appreciate the fact that that's a gift. I want to enjoy the moment at 10:15 Tuesday mornings where the best church staff in the world is gathered together as we talk about this service and the ones to come, and appreciate that they are the greatest gift and blessing I could ever have in my life. I want to appreciate the fact and live in the moment that when one of my daughters stops by the house, that they live in the same area right now. I want to stop and appreciate. I want to turn the TV off, put my laptop away, and look into their eyes and just enjoy that they're there. Not trying to talk them into something or get them to do something. I just want to enjoy the moment. And you may say, Kyle, I do that all the time. God bless you. Teach everyone else around you how to do it. Because all my life, I've lived from event to event to event. In college, it was from test to test to test. Who's with me? If I just get through this test, life will be fine. For me in college, it was if I can just get to the next break when I can go back to Idaho and see Darlene. My whole life, my whole life was like that. Listen, something or someone is going to determine the limits you live by. And you have your choice on what that's going to be. It's worth it, you guys. Moses says, teach us, like it's a prayer. Teach us, God. Teach us to number days. Teach us that time is limited, so we should limit our time. And then we get the wisdom to know how to use our time most. So, I want to move a little earlier than usual to the blue card. The blue card we always hand out. It's in your handout. And on there, you can communicate with us if you have a prayer request or you have a concern or you want to sign up for something, let us know. But also on the blue cards is the next steps. And so the next steps are a little bit more expanded this morning, so I want to go to them a little bit early. Because the fact is that I want to give you some specific steps of how to put this into action. And the first next step is this. Hard one. Discuss and eliminate your excuses for how you use your time. I know that seems really judgy, doesn't it? When I was typing it felt so good. Discuss and eliminate, okay? You can talk all you want about your time, but then start to eliminate the excuses why you don't change. What excuses do you have? Listen, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're 12 or you're 92. You have time to invest that makes life better for you and people around you. Let me give you some excuses. If I don't do as much as I possibly can, fill up my schedule, I'll never make it. You better decide what it is, right? What is it? You'll never make what? People who are dying and in hospice would say, hey, listen, son, you better choose the right it. Because most of us are investing in the wrong it. And you can get to the end and say, oh, it. That was funnier than I thought it was going to be. I didn't even mean it to be bad. I invested in the wrong thing. And probably your it came from your parents, right? Because us parents don't get a break. Maybe you were raised with parents who just were constantly on the go. And you said, listen, when I get to be old, I'm not going to treat my family like that. I'm not going to live like that. Or you were raised with parents who never did anything. They were lazy, they barely got by, and you said, when I get older, I'm going to work hard so I don't have to be like my parents. Parents, you can't win, huh? Either side. So maybe that came from your upbringing or whatever, when you just say, I got to keep going, I got to work harder, I got to keep moving, I can't slow down. Because if I slow down, if I relax, I'll never make it. Well, you better make sure you know what that is. Or, I'll fall behind. Who? Who will you fall behind? Who are you racing? Who are you competing with? Culture drives our schedule, and it dictates how you live. So you think, uh-oh, I'm going to fall behind. Or, come on, my kids are going to miss out. Listen, if you think it's been hard so far, buckle up. As parents, if it's your goal for your kids to have everything they want, they will be rotten kids. My kids aren't rotten. I didn't say they're rotten. But if your goal is to give them everything they always want, all right? Take them every place they want to be. Buy them everything they've ever wanted. They will not be great producing adults. Maybe once in a while saying, hey, kids, let's slow down here. No, you're not going out this weekend. And they'll fight you on it. Well, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to sit around and watch Dad sleep in the recliner. Oh, man, we do that every night. Whatever. You slow your kids down. And they may kick and push back on you. And I'm telling you, in 20 years, they'll look back and say, I can't believe I had parents who loved me enough to give me boundaries that said, we care about you, we love having you around. Let's spend some time together. Listen, I did you a favor. I put you to the end of life and showed you how it would be. We looked at 5 regrets. Just stop right now, and if you keep going the direction you're going and the pace you're going and investing your own, what will the end be for you? Here's another excuse. I'll be poor. And it's a big deal to some of you. Maybe you were raised poor. And you're like, if you don't have enough in your savings, if you don't have enough in your checking account, if you're not constantly buying things to make yourself feel better, there's just this panic that says, I don't have enough, I'll never have enough, I just got to get more, I just got to get more, I got to get more. And that emotion just drives you, and it's not reality. Because you can have everything you want. And someday you'll enjoy nothing of what you had because you missed out on all the good stuff. Or, I won't be accepted. By who? Who? Middle schools and high schools, listen. I know some of you dozed off. Listen, old people, you don't even have to listen. The people that you're trying to impress most right now in your middle school and high school, 10 years from now, you won't even know their cell number. You won't even have the same cell phone. The people you think are so important right now, and like, they kind of rule the school, or they're, and I don't, whether they're athletes or they're FFA people or whatever they are. And you think, oh man, I got to be accepted by them. I got to act a certain way. I got to show up a certain way. I got to do certain things. I got to show up. I got to be in this club. I got to go to that tournament. What if I, listen, in 10 years, you won't care anything about them. And I know that's what old people say. That's because old people are wiser than you. Because we've lived. Listen, who is it that won't accept you? The sad thing is, you may get on a journey driving through life, trying to impress and be accepted by people who won't matter or make a difference in your life down the road, and it will rob you of any enjoyment of your teens and of your 20s. It's an avoidable regret. You guys, middle schools, high schools, 20-somethings, you guys get to do this right. We messed it up. You get to do it right. One more excuse. I won't measure up. Again, to who? Who set the standard? Is it color of hair? Is it size? Is it house? Is it car? Why are you working so hard and moving so fast and running investing in all this stuff? Who is it that decided that the way it should be? Who gets to define that for you? What's really driving you? Really, take one of those. One of them jumped out at you already. If you're in a small group, maybe discuss that at your small group. Or that's too much for you. Just have a friend. Just say, man, I want to use my time. I don't want to look back and regret. Here's another next step. Decide what you need to add or subtract to your life. For some of you, that's a name. Like, oh, don't tell me who to hang out with. I'm not telling you anything. You can do whatever you want. We're not a cult. Do whatever you want. I won't even know. But some of you have things and people in your life that are sucking the life out of you. And you need to subtract them out of your life. And then you need to say, what do I need to add so I have balance and so at the end of my life I feel fulfilled and satisfied? Can I give you a real example of this? It's going to seem really trite, but super powerful to me. About 2.5 years ago, I discovered this game on my iPhone, iPad. It's called Turboilla. If you're in middle school, you know what I'm talking about. It's this motorcycle game. It's this dirt bike. And here's the problem. I started playing it just to kill time, whenever I'm waiting around. Well, then I got hooked on it. And I don't mind telling you that I have gone from the division number 10 all the way to division number 2. There are hundreds of thousands of people competing in the world, and I'm in the top 25%. Each week, what happens is they send you 2 new courses, and you ride your motorcycle through, and based on your time, you move up the ladder. And if you're in the top 25%, you get to move up to the next division. I'm in Division 2. I'm headed for Division 1. You're welcome. I moved up. It took years. I had to go through all these other things. Just to get to the competition master division level, I had to do all these things. I changed the colors. I got Boise State colors on my whatever you call those things you wear when you're riding your motorcycle. And my helmet's all decorated the way I want it. And as soon as I get to Division 1, which will be in a week, I'm going to get brand new stuff, brand new fly gear. I don't even know what it is. Guess what I did last night? I deleted it off of my phone. Because here's what happens, kids. Every night, Darlene and I have dinner, and she makes a dinner. I do the dishes. She'll do a little Facebook stuff, and then, hey, you want to watch something together? Or we'll be at our small group and come home, and we'll watch something, and she'll be like watching a cooking show. Yeah, honey, you watch whatever you want. Because I got my iPad over there, and that's... Listen, it's kind of funny, huh? It can be a couple hours, 3 or 4 a night. I'm almost to Division 1. Can you imagine if I make it? It will make no difference in the world, will it? Will you care? Makes no difference. And it has totally dominated my free time when I'm at home with my wife, who I adore. I was trying to get her to ride her motorcycle next to me so I could race against her. And we feel like we're doing something. Honey, look. Woo-hoo. I'd kill her, though, because I'm almost to Division 1. I know that seems really trite. It's a big deal to me. My wife doesn't even know. She's been gone all weekend. And I'm going to say, hey, I had to leave that game, and she's going to be like, because she has no idea. Well, you know what? Yes, she does, because she said a couple times, man, you play that game a lot. Yeah, well, you talk to your mom on the phone a lot, too. Mind your own business. Did I mention I adore my wife? All right, we need to wrap this up. Man, there's so much of this stuff, all right? Moses says, God, help us. Teach us to number our days. Help us to understand how valued we are. But the final next step I would love for you to consider is this. Consider investing in a relationship with Jesus. It won't disappoint you. There's brokenness along the way, and there's disappointment. But at the end of your days, it's the best to sit beside a person in hospice or a hospital bed with someone who knows they're dying. And when they take their last breath in this life, their next breath will be with the presence of Jesus. That's not just pastor talk. I believe with all my heart it's the truth. From the beginning of the Bible to the end of the Bible, we're promised that there's something better coming. That as a child of God, when you put your faith and you develop a relationship with God Almighty, the creator of the universe, made it possible for you to have a relationship with Him because He paved the way through Jesus becoming on this earth and be imperfect for you, who we are so imperfect, paved the way. And you decide to choose a relationship to move forward, and you decide to live God's way instead of your way. When you invest your time and your energy in that, it won't disappoint you. And if you're really honest, some of you who have been coming to church or been following Jesus a long time, you would have to admit, my time has been somewhere else instead of focusing and intent on my relationship with Jesus. And some of you are here, this is the first time you've ever heard or really comprehended that you could put your time and energy into investment that won't just benefit this life, it's eternal investment. That someday in your Father's house, there's room for you. It's the best place. Our life is just fleeting. God's time, God's eternity goes from never to never. And we get to participate in that. I know it seems like Lord of the Rings stuff, but it's not. It's truth. What would happen? Just listen. Consider this. What happened if you were to say to yourself right now, if there is a God, and there was a Jesus, and we're all in agreement that there was, but what if Jesus was actually the Son of God, the perfect Son of God? What if he actually lived on this life for your benefit? This earth for your benefit? Would you consider at least the guy who shows up, claims to be the Son of God, predicts his own death and then resurrection, and then pulls it off? Wouldn't you want to lean into a guy like that? At least get information, if not making a decision to accept what Jesus has done for you. It will change your life because it will change your time, because you'll be investing in stuff that's eternal and long-lasting and satisfying instead of the rush of the temporary. I pray you make that decision. Let's pray together. God, thank you. Thanks for protecting this song that Moses wrote. All these years and centuries that you held it for us because you knew we would reach a point in 2018 where we are too stressed, too tense, and too overscheduled. God, I ask that you would unclutter us, that we would make the choice to choose to invest in things that are satisfying and long-lasting, that make a difference in the world around us and in ourselves and in our families. But in the process of that, God, I thank you that you love us in spite of that. You have no regret for what we've done. You have no disappointment in who we are because you couldn't love us more or less. So God, I ask that we would move forward in a relationship with you, that we move towards you and receive everything we need from a relationship with you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Man, thanks for being here this morning. Have a great Sunday. See ya. Love you. Bye.